First to go viral. So yesterday at the Pro Bowl, Lamar Jackson showed off his strength and accuracy, hitting the goalpost on a throw from 50 yards away. He was also interviewed by 10-year-old junior NFL UK reporter Braden Bent. Take a listen.
So I'm here with Lamar Jackson from the Baltimore Ravens. How are you?
I'm great. How you doing, Brady?
I'm very good, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I think 8's the best number, by the way, just to put that out there.
New beginning.
I think 8 is a very good number.
Yeah, it's there for new beginning. Yeah, that's why I
like
got the
it.
number.
I like it a lot. You're in the Pro Bowl, which means you are the best of the best. But what else do you think you're the best at?
Oh, man, just being myself.
Being yourself.
Yeah, always
well,
being myself.
You can't go wrong with that, can you?
Can't at all.
England and America are good pals, right? Yeah? We're good pals.
Yeah, we're good pals.
However, we say things different, like elevator for you is our lift.
What
Do you know what a nappy is?
What's that?
A diaper.
But,
We call a nappy a diaper.
oh, okay, it's different. Yeah, it's different.
Lamar had no idea what he was signing up for. When he was like, oh, this is so cute, this little kid's getting interviewed. He's like, oh, existential questions about what's important to me. Okay, how you doing?
Little kids with accents, particularly British accents, I understand there's a whole country of people that speak that way.
And have
I love
kids.
it. I just love it. I just love it. I could listen to that kid talk. Forever. All
Maybe
day.
Grown up. He sounds like a grown man in a little man's body.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Because, and I think
Is it
that's
the
just
accent,
because he
though?
has
The
a British
accent,
accent.
the accent.
I think he's smarter and older than he actually is.
That's what happens. You throw the accent out there, and all of a sudden people think, you know, you're smarter and more attractive.
Are you
than
going to throw it
really
out
are.
there for us today?
Fine, let's talk a little bit about your former coach, Andy Reid. The last time Andy was in a Super Bowl 15 years ago. Your Eagles came up short to the Patriots, and I'm sorry to revisit, but the good news is, for Andy at least, he gets one more crack, and that's next Sunday. So how does he feel about not yet getting that big win? Well, take a listen to this.
Life's bigger than that. Now, that doesn't tell you I don't want to win. I don't want that to be, this is America, man. I'm in it to win. That's what we do. And that's how you're, so I don't want that to be slighted. But I also understand, I have a perspective of life. Maybe it's my age now, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to, work hard and coach hard, do all those things, and I'm in swinging. So the best of my ability.
Brian, I'll start with you. You played for Andy Reid. You know him. I worked with him for years. I love this man. I think he's a fantastic coach. How much does this drive him as your former coach? How much is this in his veins right now, getting ready for the big game?
It absolutely drives. I think it drives pretty much every coach, but in particular, Andy Reid, he's one of the hardest working coaches, men that I've ever met. That's late nights, being away from your family, doing all the small things, the attention to detail that other people are not. And what drives those guys, those types of people, is being the best. And up to this point, Andy Reid has been in 5 NFC Championship games and 2 AFC Championship games, 2 Super Bowls. He'll be able to play in this season, the second. And when you get into that realm where you're a great coach, we already know that. We already know that your credentials. You only had 3 losing seasons in 21 years that you've been coaching.
Say that again.
3 losing seasons in 21 years. I mean, that's just, and none in Kansas City, obviously. All 3 in
including
Philly.
his first year in Philly, which really shouldn't be held against him. His last year, and 15 of 21 playoff appearances.
Amazing.
Absolutely. I didn't mean to interrupt, but it's just unbelievable, the level of consistent success.
So his his success is clear. But here's a small thing. When you get into that upper echelon of coaches, of players, of anything, the rings do matter. I remember I was at the Super Bowl in Minnesota, and I was in the Legends Room, where basically all Hall of Famers. And they were talking stats and who's better in this. But at the end of the day, the conversation came down to rings. How many rings do you have? How did your teams do? And I think it's the same thing for coaches. At some point, you're going to ask a question. We know that you won a bunch of games. You know you've been to a bunch of championship games, and that's great. But how many rings do you have? And I think at the end of the day, Andy Reid, of course, he wants rings.
Yeah, the pinnacle of our sport is the Hall of Fame, but right underneath that is Super Bowl championships. I mean, that's what you have the conversation about.
That's what Jimmy Garoppolo's like, what's up, everybody? I got 2.
But, Jenna, that's a big part of it. I mean, a lot of the conversation this week about Eli Manning retiring is he or isn't he a Hall of Famer? And the thing that probably puts him over the top is the 2 Super Bowl wins, the runs, and then the 2 Super Bowl MVPs. So, yeah, it feels like that's the only thing that's missing from Andy Reid's resume. But I got to ask you this, because you've been with Andy Reid as you're preparing for big games. what does he do in order to get his team ready to go under these circumstances? Because this is a different platform than the regular season when you talk about championship games and Super Bowls.
The biggest thing, and really just in my life in general, when I've had attention to detail, I've been much more successful than any other time in my life. And so Andy Reid is one of those guys that preaches attention to detail. It's 10-yard route, not 9, not 11. It's, you know, you walk out the door, your shirt's tucked in, you look the right way. All those small things matter to Andy Reid. And really, you can't argue with the success that he's had that those things matter. And so in these biggest games, Andy Reid wants his best players to have their best games. And so he does everything he can to make sure that that happens. That starts with practice, the length of practice. And if you're hurting a little bit, and this happened to me a bunch of times, there were games where I just didn't have it. I couldn't practice the way that I wanted to because of my injuries and things like that. And he would say, listen, as long as you're good on Sundays, that's all we care about. We want to make sure that you're there. And so he always listens to the players, that attention to detail and the small things. The other big thing I think in this game is going to be his experience. His experience in this game and his ability to talk to the other guys on that football team, I think, are be critical as far as what goes on in the football game.
There's only 5 coaches in NFL history with more wins than him. There's only 5 coaches in NFL history with a better winning percentage than him. You already talked about the consistent level of excellence. I think, especially since what we saw happen with the Hall of Fame this year with a larger than average class, Bill Cowher getting in, Jimmy Johnson getting in, I think that Andy's got a case, even if they don't win this game, he's a Hall of Fame coach. But what does it mean for him legacy-wise? To me, it's very simple. There are some coaches with Super Bowl rings that were not great coaches. There, no need to name the names here, but I think there's a few we can all think of. It's like, was he a great coach or is he just in the right situation? Did someone else build it up for him and then he came in?
Barry Switzer?
I'm not naming any names. I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm just saying there are some, but there are no all-time great coaches without a ring. Like, you can go one way, can't go the other. I think Andy Reid is already a great coach. What is the only thing separating him from all-time legendary status, from, you could argue, of post-merger football, being on the Mount Rushmore of coaches. You know, you could, if they win this Super Bowl, you could put his resume, you would say, you'd have Noel, you'd have Landry, you'd have Bill Belichick, and you would have Andy Reid. I'm leaving out Don Shula, so okay, maybe we got to expand the Mount Rushmore a little bit. Point being, certainly if they win this championship, he's the second best coach of the 2000s. That is undeniable. The only thing that's separating him from that type of discussion, from being in that class of coaches, is winning the game. And I think this is, with respect to your guys' team, I think this is the best all-around team he's had, the best position he's had to win a championship. And so I can only imagine, because I don't know him as well as Jenna does, certainly as well as you do, how it will feel for him if he can't cash this one in.
Well, can I speak to that for a second? All this week we've heard from Chiefs players, and to a man, they have all said, we want to win this for Andy Reid. And I know that's something you say, but in years past, we don't always see the first person you want to win this for as your head coach. You talk about the importance of winning it, which goes to show you that these guys are rooting for him the way it seems like fans are, and, you know, sort of fanage of the NFL is. And I just wonder if he needs to win the Super Bowl to sort of get the narrative off his back about how successful he is in the regular season, or has he done that really just by getting to the Super Bowl?
Well, I don't think he's done that and got that narrative off by just getting here again, because you have to win it to really get that narrative off. The other part that I think is true is that Andy Reid has a narrative that he doesn't do very good clock management in situations. And even if they win, that narrative still could be true. That narrative still could be like, well, they won because of Patrick Mahomes, not because of Andy Reid. They won in spite of some of the things that Andy Reid did. And so I think that he has a couple narratives that he can correct with his football game, and really it comes down to the quarterback's ability to throw the ball down the field. If that quarterback and Patrick Mahomes in that offense is explosive down the field and are successful, it's just going to be hard for the 49ers to keep up with them. And then Andy Reid is mentioned with some of the young guys that are saying the best offensive coordinators in the league. I think you put him in that category already, but he's certainly mentioned in that category if they go out there and they put up a bunch of points against this very good 49ers defense.
Yeah, I think him winning the chip cements his legacy. I mean, Nick brought up the two coaches that are going into the Centennial class. I mean, Andy Reid has a better win percentage than Jimmy Johnson, and he's coached twice as long as he did. And then, of course, he's right there win percentage with Bill Cowher, but he's got 58 more wins than Bill Cowher actually has. So, I mean, he stacks up favorably, but it just feels like that championship is the one thing that's missing. And keep in mind, one of his proteges, Doug Peterson, went and got a championship with the Philadelphia Eagles. So it just feels like for all of the coaches that have gone on and had success off of his coach's tree, it just seems like this guy deserves to have that championship, because I feel like that's the one thing that's missing. And he's got to have that in order to be considered one of the all-time great coaches in the modern era of football.
All right, good conversation. Brian, stick around. Coming up, is Jimmy Garoppolo about to